Joining me right now with more on all of this is the 70th Secretary of State and Fox News contributor, Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Morning. Good to be with you, Maria.
I want to talk about the U.S. telling Israel what to do in this war, but I'll get to that in a moment. Your thoughts on what the proper response to Iran is, because isn't Iran controlling these proxies like the Houthis who are attacking our military in the Middle East?
Maria, this has actually been the great failure of this administration now for 3 years on, and it is today the fact that Israel, frankly, the Gulf Arab states, and certainly the United States is paying the price. They flipped the script from what we had done with Iran. We had a maximum pressure campaign. They've maximized the amount of money the Iranian regime has. That's a huge mistake. It's underwriting not only the atrocities that took place in Israel on October 7th by Hamas, but today, now almost 100 attacks on Americans from Iranian-backed terrorists in the region. It's really dangerous, Maria. Until we impose real costs on Iran, this will continue. And so the fact that Secretary General Austin is headed there today, as the Wall Street Journal said, is about time. Frankly, it's a little too late. And that'll mean that the costs that have to be imposed will be even higher to regain the deterrence that we had for 4 years.
Well, I mean, that's right. Iranian proxy forces have attacked U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria 98 times since October 17th. I mean, 98 times. A new Fox News poll finds 50% of registered voters say that President Biden's handling of Iran has made the United States less safe. Only 12% said the opposite, Secretary. So, I mean, they've already enabled Iran to generate all these billions in revenue by relaxing those sanctions. Is it not too late? What can they do now to gain credibility of being so tough on Iran?
It's not too late. It's never too late. It does get harder as time goes on, and you have demonstrated not only in this theater of action in Iran, but in Afghanistan, with respect to the Chinese Communist Party, more broadly, a deep global misunderstanding of America's place in the world and how to restore deterrence. Got a war in Europe, too. It's not too late. You can get it back. It's going to require determined action. I'm afraid the Biden administration will see any action that would actually deter Iran as risking escalation, and that's how we got here. You can't be afraid of your own shadow. You have to be clear about your red lines, and then you have to enforce them. This administration has routinely, broadly, all across the world failed to do that, and they have certainly made Americans less safe. We've seen what they've done to Israel. We know that the Gulf Arab states are less safe as well. It's a more dangerous place in the world today when America backs off from the simple truths.
Well, it certainly feels like a much more dangerous place. My question is, why does the United States try to tell Israel how to deal with this war? They were attacked in an unprovoked attack by Hamas, and it seems that every day we're getting more indications that the Biden administration is trying to create a ceasefire, tell Israel how to deal with this war, tell Israel how to retaliate or not retaliate. Lloyd Austin is there today again, trying to talk with Benjamin Netanyahu. Is he trying to get Netanyahu to stop this war, ceasefire?
Publicly, the administration has given full-throated support to Israel. I applaud that. But privately, they're trying to limit what they can do. In the same way, frankly, they've limited what the Ukrainians could do, right? The Ukrainians have been limited in the responses they could take, and that has caused this war in Europe to drag on. I read some reporting that Secretary Austin is going to give a time limit to this war on Israel. I pray that the Israelis will duly ignore him. We ought not be telling them what to do, and more importantly, what we're telling him is the wrong thing. They have to complete the mission. We can't set a timeline. We can't say, gosh, we're going to be out and done by a date certain or a time certain. We need to get the hostages home. We can never forget that they need to be back with their families. And then this terror risk to Israel and to the world needs to be eliminated. In the Gaza Strip, in southern Lebanon with Hezbollah, and more broadly, the Iranian regime needs to be deterred.
Yeah, and so does the Chinese Communist Party. China is obviously also supportive of Russia. Then you got the Biden family right in the middle of the whole thing with accepting money from both countries. But I want to get your take on the trial this morning in Hong Kong. Apple Daily founder Jimmy Lai appearing in a Hong Kong court today for the start of his long-delayed national security trial, Secretary. It's expected to last 80 days. No jury here. Lai's case will be heard instead before 3 national security security judges, handpicked by the government. I guess that means the CCP. The hearing today focuses on legal arguments over a sedition charge. While Lai's lawyer argues the 6-month window for prosecution has passed, he wants the charges dropped. Lai faces life in prison if convicted in this case. And, of course, he joined us on this program throughout 2020. And the last time he joined us was right before his arrest. Watch this.
I expected I would have to go to jail, but I don't know when and for how long. But definitely I would not admit guilty, because for somebody who is determined to resist, I would never admit guilty.
What a shame. And we heard from his camp. Apparently there are 1,000 cops there, Chinese police, at Jimmy's trial. It's all in against Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong this morning, Secretary.
Maria, you know, sometimes in life you get a chance to meet real heroes. I had the chance to meet Jimmy Lai when I was Secretary of State. What a patriot, what a humanitarian, what a fundamentally decent believer in the core idea of human dignity. This is no more a trial than a man in the moon. He's going to be convicted. He's likely going to serve a very long sentence. I pray for Jimmy Lai. I regret that I couldn't do more as Secretary of State to protect him and defend him from the onslaught of the Chinese Communist Party. I hope that I'm wrong about the end of how this hearing will go, but I suspect the worst. Jimmy Lai should never be forgotten. I'm so glad you brought him up this morning, and remind the world of what the Chinese Communist Party is doing to decent, simple people who are simply trying to live their lives.
And they also came out with all these new rules when they marched into Hong Kong and started throwing freedom fighters in jail like Jimmy Lai. What do American investors and American corporations need to know about all these new rules coming out of the CCP, which basically enable them to be able to walk into any foreign company and raid the place? They've done it already a couple times, including to Bain.
Yeah, Maria, we've seen this a couple times. My expectation is this will get worse until the administration begins to take this threat seriously. American businesses that are operating in mainland China and even in Hong Kong today are under threat. This national security law essentially lets the Chinese Communist Party grab anyone, search anything for any reason or no reason at all. I suspect this will continue. I suspect it will increase. And the risk not only of people like Jimmy Lai, but of others, Westerners, being held and detained and interrogated is only increasing as America fails to restore the very deterrence we spoke about earlier today.
Yeah, really discouraging there. We'll be watching that. And, you know, it's incredible to me that the Hong Kong police have 1,000 police guarding the court where the trial is taking place in Hong Kong. Secretary, good to see you as always. Merry Christmas to you and family.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Maria. So long.